Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, he lived from 1749 to 1823 or 32. I keep confusing Beethoven and Goethe. Anyway, so he lived in the late 18th century, early 19th century, and he's considered for German literature what Shakespeare is considered for English literature, kind of the most important figure. The von is, if in German you have a von in your last name, it means your nobility, because it means you are from a place which you own. So Goethe, he was born into a relatively rich family in, guess what? Frankfurt. So that's why Goethe University in Frankfurt is called Goethe University. And then he became very popular. Even Napoleon wanted to meet him when he started all his wars. And then eventually he was promoted to being a nobleman. And that's why he has this got this fun into his name. So that's something, right? It's the. I'm, to be frank, if you ask me, but that's, do I love reading Goethe? There's other stuff that I prefer. I mean, I love reading, and I find literature is super important, and I find it's, but Goethe is somehow. But anyway, I mean, I acknowledge he's an important figure, and when you go to Frankfurt, then you will see, that's where the name comes from. If you go to the logo, you have that gentleman, and that's Goethe. Okay, so let's come back to the monetary model. So the monetary model is basically, for exchange rate economics, what Goethe's works are for German literature. So you are not allowed to not know it. That's basically good. So let me go into the monetary model. And the nice thing about the monetary model is it's so simple to start with. So what do you have? You start with the first equation, which is basically a money demand equation in logs, and says that the log of domestic real money demand is a function of domestic output and the domestic interest rate. This is what we saw yesterday, right? I mean, the famous liquidity preference theory, where you have, interest rate has a negative effect on money demand, and output has a positive effect. You want to hold more money if you do more transactions. You want to hold less money if the interest rate is high, because that's the opportunity cost of holding money. Now, money demand is real money demand because you relate it to the prices. So, of course, MTDH minus PTH is just the natural log of MTDH over capital PTH. Okay, so again, we're using differences when in fact we're thinking about ratios. Now, we assume that there is permanent money market equilibrium, so we can basically write down the first equation, which is MTH minus PTH equals phi YTH minus lambda ITH. Okay, so that's the first equation. So we say money demand is equal to money supply. Money supply is something that's determined exogenously, and that's just the money supply. And of course, variables have to adjust to make people want to hold the supply of money. Secondly, the normal money supply is exogenous that we assume. We assume that there are rational expectations, so expectation about X are the conditional expected value based on all information available at T, including the model. Now, please note, this is the expectations operator. In italics, it's the normal exchange rate. So we have a lot of E's in this exchange rate economic stuff. And just to avoid confusion, when you have the straight E, it's an expectations operator. When you have that, inclined E italics, then you have it's the exchange. Now, the exchange rate is flexible, so the central bank does not intervene in foreign exchange markets. Now, next thing is we assume that absolute purchasing power parity holds. That's 6.2. PTH equals ET plus PTF. Now, that's almost embarrassing, because yesterday I said so many bad things about absolute purchasing power parity, and now I'm bringing it back into the picture. Now, the good news is that you do not absolutely need it. You can have exogenous fluctuations in the real exchange rate, and still the monetary model works. So it's not that the monetary model breaks down if absolute purchasing power parity doesn't hold. And if that's the case, then of course why not use absolute purchasing power parity. Now the next thing is uncovered interest parity, which we know, which is, well, let me actually, that's money market equilibrium. This is absolute purchasing power parity, and this is what we have here is ITH equals ITF plus ET plus 1 minus ET. And that's UIP plus rational, let me use the ampersand. Oops. How do I do an ampersand? And rational expectations. Good. Now, an important thing to note is that the monetary model is not a model that explains how output reacts to exchange rate fluctuations. So we assume that the classical dichotomy holds. Money is neutral, so real output, consumption, etc. are independent of monetary policy. So YTH is something that is determined by how much a country can produce and how, by its capital stock, by the labor force, by the technology, but not in any way affected by monetary policy. So this is not a Keynesian model where monetary policy has an effect on the exchange rate. So in a way, this is just the icing on the cake, right? You know everything about the economy, and then at some point you say, what about the nominal exchange rate? And then this model gives the answer, which is important, but it's important to say that at some stage. Good. Okay, so let's derive that question, that equation at the bottom. So what do? We have PTH here, and substitute that in there. And we have ITH here, and substitute it in here. Right? So we combine those three equations to get one. And when we do that, we get MTH minus ET minus PTF equals phi YTH minus lambda ITF plus ET plus 1 minus ET. Now, of course, what we're interested in is the normal exchange rate. So let's shift the normal exchange rate to the right-hand side, and we have on the left-hand side everything that's exogenous, at least from a perspective of period t. And here we have 1 plus lambda et. Right? The 1 comes from here. The lambda comes from the fact that we have minus lambda minus 1. Alrighty. And now let's divide everything by 1 plus lambda, and we have mth minus ptf minus phi yth plus lambda itf plus lambda over 1 plus lambda et plus 1 equals et. And this is just the equation, if I'm not mistaken, no I'm not, that you see on the slide. Just the other way around. Right? We have et on the left-hand side and the rest on the right-hand side. Now, please note that these variables are exogenous variables. So the money supply is perceived as being exogenous, and it is. The foreign price level is exogenous because we're talking about a small open economy whose decisions do not affect the foreign price level. Domestic output is exogenous, and the foreign interest rate is exogenous as well. So all of these things are beyond influence of the domestic economy. So now let me write that the way that we have it on the slide. Et is 1 over 1 plus lambda mth minus ptf minus phi yth plus lambda itf plus lambda over 1 plus lambda et plus 1. Well, what about the next period? What about et plus 1? Well, it's 1 over 1 plus lambda. Please allow for some space. mt plus 1 h minus pt plus 1 f minus phi yt plus 1 h plus lambda it plus 1 f plus lambda over 1 plus lambda, allow for some space, et plus 1 et plus 2. Right? If this holds for period t, it also has to hold for period t plus 1. Now, if we want to have the expectation about et plus 1, we just insert the insert the expectations operator. Okay? Yeah. This is the expectation about the nominal exchange rate in as of period t, about the nominal exchange rate in period t plus 1. And it depends on the expectation as of period t about all these variables in the squared bracket, plus lambda over 1 plus lambda, et plus 1, et plus 2. Now this is a strange animal here, right? What is this? This is what people expect today about what will they expect tomorrow. So okay, who do you expect to become? Are you interested in football? Soccer? A little bit, maybe, right? Who do you expect to be where's the next World Championship? I think it's going to be in the US. Could it be? Oof. Anyway, and that's going to be when? It's going to be next year, 2026. Anyway, who do you expect to be the next world champion in football? You don't have to please me. Right. Brazil? Okay. So, who do you expect today to expect tomorrow to be the world champion in 2026? So, or put differently, what answer do you expect to give today if someone asks you the same question tomorrow? The same. Now, this is something that we call the law of iterated expectations. And by the end of the day, it allows us to say this is just ET. Now, this is not trivial, and I remember that I spent a day on trying to figure out what might be the problem. But by the end of the day, it is, if I expect today that Brazil will be the world champion in football in 2026, then it's plausible to say that I expect today to expect tomorrow that the world champion in football will be Brazil. So we can get rid of these double expectations. This is a conditional expectation today about a conditional expectation tomorrow about something that's even further in the future. But now we get these ETs here, and we can all reduce it to what we actually expect today. Now, what does this buy us? It buys us that we can substitute this thing in here, right? And what we get is, and this will be a lengthy thing, ET equals 1 over 1 plus lambda MTH minus PTF minus phi YTH plus lambda ITF plus lambda over 1 plus lambda times 1 over 1 plus lambda ET MT plus 1 H minus PT plus 1 F minus phi YT plus 1 H plus lambda IT plus 1 F plus, guess what? Lambda over 1 plus lambda squared ET plus 2. Let me move this up. Boing. All right. Great. But now, what about this? So we have related today's nominal exchange rate to today's money supply, foreign price level, output, foreign interest rate, plus our expectation about next period's domestic money supply, foreign price level, foreign output, foreign interest rate. But then we still have that fellow here. So we could do that. We could now say, what is ET plus 2? And then we could do exactly the same thing, right? And if I really did that, I would probably miss my plane, and you would miss a lot of other important things. So let's not do it, right? So just the point is, what we do is we do what we often do in macro. We do forward iteration. So by the end of the day, we get this thing. Now, what is this? This is there's a mistake here. It should be, sorry about that. It should be E lower t. Let me don't like that. Usually I correct my slides when I find a mistake, but apparently I didn't miss. So you have, so what you have here is ET equals 1 over 1 plus lambda, basically MT H minus, and then let me just skip that, plus 1 over 1 plus lambda, lambda over 1 plus lambda, ET MT plus 1H minus dot 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 dot, plus 1 over 1 plus lambda, lambda over 1 plus lambda squared, ET MT plus 2 H minus dot 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 dot, plus, and then let me correct this mistake here, plus limit for cap t going towards infinity, lambda over 1 plus lambda to the power of cap t, et plus cap t. And this is what I'm, right, this is important. This is where the mistake is in my slides. Let me just note it, that something has to be corrected. Okay, so this is how you read that, right? The summation sign. And you are specialists on summation signs by now, right? Because we have seen something like that when we derived the intertemporal budget constraint. Here we're talking about something else. We're talking about the nominal exchange rate depending on basically everything that happens now and everything that's expected to happen in the future. That's the key point. The key point, and I'll come back to this, plus this limit term. Now the question is, what do we do with this weird limit term? Well, the answer is we set it equal to 0. So this is what we call the fundamental value of the nominal exchange rate, or some people call it this way. It is determined by today's money supply, today's foreign price level, today's output, today's foreign interest rate, plus the expectation about these variables in all future periods. Now, please note, lambda over 1 plus lambda is smaller than 1. So, of course, what's going to happen in the year 2200 is not as important for the nominal exchange rate as what's happening today or what's expected to happen next year. So it's like you're discounting. Now, what is this term there? It's called a bubble. It's about the bubble term. Now, what is a bubble? Now let me give you an example. Yep, here's one. Suppose I'm selling it. I'm selling this to Joe for 5 million Vietnamese dong. Would you buy it?
No.
I thought I could enrich myself. Now, so suppose you expect Duy to buy it at 5,500,000. Would you buy it?
Yes.
Okay. Would you buy it for 5,500,000? Well, suppose you expect David to buy it at 6 million. Would you buy it? Well, you would, because you buy it because you buy it at an exaggerated price, because you expect to sell it at an exaggerated price. Why would you buy it? Well, you buy it at an exaggerated price if you expect to sell it to one at 7 million. And one might buy it at 7 million because she expects to sell it to Min at 8.5 million, right? And Min might find someone out there and sell it at 10. Now this is a bubble. Now by the end of the day, this is just a piece of paper, and reasonably nobody should pay 5 million Vietnamese dong for it, right? This is not an autograph of Taylor Swift, right? This is just something. Now, when we the bubble term would be non-zero if there was a bubble, and a bubble is an intrinsically worthless asset that becomes more and more expensive. Now, with a bubble, ET would go towards infinity, right? It might also go towards minus infinity. Now, what does a nominal exchange rate of minus infinity mean? Well, please bear in mind we're talking about the log. You know, if you approach zero, the log function goes towards minus infinity, right? So in fact, if there was a bubble in foreign exchange markets, so some currency becoming more and more and more expensive, and people just buy it today because they expect to find someone to buy it from them at an even higher price, then we would be in trouble. Now, does anybody know a bubble that exists? Pardon? Yeah, but real estate bubbles burst at some time. I mean, the Japanese real estate bubble burst in the mid-90s. The Chinese real estate bubble hasn't quite burst yet because the Chinese government tries to, sustain it. There's another bubble which I find super frightening. Pardon?
Like those AI and technology.
Well, you could argue, but then you could argue now these are companies selling something that will be very valuable. But there's another thing that people buy at very high prices, and it has no intrinsic value, and I have no clue what this is good for. Cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies is the pure bubble. And I mean, some people argue, well, cryptocurrencies are super useful because you can pay your bills at Amazon with it. Come on. I mean, did you ever meet anyone buying Bitcoin because he thought it made payments easier? So why do people buy crypto? Why do people buy Bitcoin at whatever, 25,000 or by now? Because they expect someone else to buy it from them, right? And this is I find that super dangerous. And the more crypto goes into the financial system, the more we have something that eventually, will burst, right? And the current US government is super excited because the current US president is involved in that business, right? So he's got his own cryptocurrency, which he sells to his fans. I must say that's not a good idea, right? So crypto is something I find I just don't get it, right? I don't have any cryptocurrency because I just don't understand what this is all about, right? What is the value behind a Bitcoin? It's just the hope that someone will be even more gullible than you are and buy that stuff at an even higher price from you. It's pure, I mean, when you buy stock of a company, what's the value of the stock? Well, it's basically the present value of the company, or should reflect it, plus agents' willingness to buy that stock. But crypto is not backed by anything. Now, here's a dark truth. The same applies to money. Money is a bubble, right? So why does the person who sells me a mango at whatever, 10,000 Vietnamese dong on the Bang Cat street market sell me that and gets a picture of Ho Chi Minh on a piece of paper? Well, because that person thinks he or she can pass that on. So basically what money is, and this is something we have to be aware of, is it's a contract. It's an agreement in a society that we use that because everybody believes we can use it. So money itself, and there's papers on that, money itself is kind of a bubble. It's something that has value without having an intrinsic value. I mean, in the